of justice possession of unlicensed ammunition as well as stun grenades. Chief of the Tshwane Metro Police Department, Yolandi Farrow, says she was shocked and dismayed by allegations of corruption within her department. Farrow has been testifying before the Madlanga Commission today on alleged corruption and tender rigging. The commission has heard how senior officials within the TMPD allegedly colluded with service providers to defraud the department. Farrow says she has instituted disciplinary measures against those implicated at the commission. Last month, TMPD Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini was suspended after it was revealed he allegedly colluded with controversial cop Sergeant Faninkosi to manipulate the tenders.
Over the past weeks, I have come to learn with great shock and dismay on what was apparently taking place in the TMPD, whether it was before my tenure or whether it was now in this time. It is not, it would seem, issues of irregularities, but clear systems of siphoning of money and criminal activities.
In news just in, we have an update from Faninkosi's appearance in court today. The bid by the suspended police officer to apply for bail today has failed in the Pretoria North Magistrates Court. Today, the state requested for the matter to be postponed to next week for further investigation in preparation for the bail application, but Nkosi's lawyers argued for the court to hear his bail application today. Magistrate Renee Fenter has granted the state the postponement. Let's stay in that court. A police captain arrested for allegedly defrauding the SAPS's Protection Security Services has been granted 50,000 rand bail. Johannes van Rensburg made a brief appearance in the Pretoria Magistrates Court. Van Rensburg is accused of stealing millions of rands by manipulating the financial system. An internal investigation found Van Rensburg booked out cash under the guise of travel expenses for officers attached to the Presidential Protection Services. As several communities in Emfuleni battle a sewage spill crisis, the municipality says it simply does not have the money to urgently fix the broken pipes. The Tsepong and Debone Park townships have been hardest hit with a decade-long sewage crisis that has left many homes flooded. EWN visited the municipality to assess the state of service delivery following revelations that it has spent about 700 million rand on overtime pay in the recent years. Alfara Mshwana reports.
As you drive through the Debone Park community in Emfuleni, a severely damaged road is the first sight, which was worn down by years of ongoing sewage spillage. A strong, putrid smell lingers in the air as motorists struggle to navigate a road that is barely usable. Resident Thabo Mohale, who lives along the damaged stretch, says he's been begging the municipality to repair the road.
I feel very bad. The situation is terrible. The municipalities have abandoned their communities. The road is terrible.
Emfuleni municipality spokesperson Makosonke Sangweni says resources are limited.
If we have 100 citizens, but only 2 citizens are paying, obviously that municipality won't be properly functional.
He says the municipality is willing but lacks the financial muscle to attend to the spillage. Alfa Ramshwana, Eyewitness News in Emfuleni.
And one of Australia's most decorated soldiers has been charged with war crimes in Afghanistan. Ben Robert Smith is accused of murdering unarmed prisoners captured in that country. In 2020, a military report revealed grave allegations against Australian troops who were sent to fight Taliban forces. The report accused the elite units of torture, summary executions and body count competitions. Should Robert Smith be found guilty, he faces a maximum sentence of life in prison. He has maintained his innocence throughout, launching legal action against the newspapers who aired the allegations. Gold is trading at $4,668.21 an ounce. The rand is at 16.82 to the dollar, 22.32 to the pound, 19.45 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $109.68 a barrel.
This road work slowing down traffic in Tembisa on the R21 North before Olifantsfontein Road. In Protea Glen, there are some delays on the N12 West between the Klipsreed Valley Road and the R558. And in the capital, traffic lights are out in Marabatstad at WF Nkomo and Eskom Pahlele Drive.
It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng today with showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 22 and 24 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, Sergeant Faninkosi's attempt to apply for bail in the Pretoria North Magistrates Court has failed.
EWN, in touch, in tune and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856
92.7
and 106 FM.
Seven minutes after 1 o'clock, welcome to 7:02 Afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja, on this pretend Monday, but actually is a Tuesday. I hope you all had an absolutely beautiful long weekend and had the opportunity to rest and do whatever else you needed to do, especially considering Easter is such a big holiday in South Africa. There are people who get to take it and enjoy it, even if they don't necessarily Easter in their weekend. Coming up on the show for today, I want to find out from all of you around people that you may have interacted with, or maybe this is your own personal experience, where you realize this person is still living in their minds like it's apartheid. And I'll explain where that where this conversation is coming from. But when I got to reading a bit further and thinking about it, I realized that really is the case. There are people who are still living as if they are living under the constraints of the apartheid system by how they interact and engage with one another. You'll have a person who is working for you insisting that you refer to them as boss, for example. Even though or they refer to you rather, even though you said you don't have to call me that at all. I want to hear from all of you. Our take feature, how individuals are increasingly relying on AI to prepare and submit insurance claims. Definitely want to tune in for Mto Mapumulo, partner at Adams & Adams Insurance Law Practice, is going to join us for that conversation. The second half of the show, series edition, we are talking in the month of April in our series on the different types of sexualities and sexual orientation. So you may have heard of terms like demisexual, pansexual, and you're like, what do all of these mean? And maybe your reference point is either you are straight or you are gay, or either you are heterosexual or homosexual. We're going to delve into the terminology and what they refer to. Professor Anthony Brown, professor in the School of Interdisciplinary Research and Graduate Studies at UNISA, will join us for that conversation. Then we wrap up with our car feature with Nickel Lowe, and we'll be tackling technical car issues with him and opening the lines for you to get your questions through to Nickel. But we'll also talk about fuel-saving tips that every single driver should know. Why? Because petrol went up, and we are seeing the most when it comes to the increase of living expenses at the moment. So get in touch with us, 011 883 0702. SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 Afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Mabotja.
All right. This post truly intrigued me, and it made me take a moment to really think about where this is applicable, and seeing the responses that have already started coming through on social media, I am like, yeah, this subject needs to be unpacked. So a person by the name of IVN Sambo on X wrote the following. Said, guys, apartheid really did a number on the older generation. A month ago, I saw this beautiful garden and wanted to hire the person taking care of it. I hired this old gentleman. I guess he's in his late 50s, if not 60s. He's a nice guy, gets the work done, and makes my garden look beautiful too. But here's the problem. He is suffering from what I can only describe as post-apartheid syndrome. Every day he calls me boss, even though I've repeatedly told him to call me, it's actually Ivan. It's just spelled very differently, I-V-Y-N, Ivan. Whenever we go to the garden refuse, he automatically jumps into the back of my bakkie to sit with the garden waste. And I have to insist that he comes and sits in the front with me, right? So he will be the one to jump in the back of the bakkie to sit with the garden waste, and I have to insist that he sits in the front with me. Not only that, but when I give him food, he used to sit on the floor until I started telling him to sit on a camping chair. He's so used to working under the apartheid era white South Africans that his mind still seems programmed for that dynamic. Even with payment, he charged me below the minimum wage. Only my wife and I insisted that we pay him above minimum wage because we believe in living wages. It's just so sad to see this still happening in 2026. So that is the question. That do you know people who are like this? Have you observed it? Have you interacted with them? Or you might be a person who says, to be honest, I am that person, and this is the reason why I insist on referring to people as boss in this day in age. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
Relebogile is on X at Relebogile M.
I'm going to start up on Facebook with some of your messages. Nico van der Merwe says, I would be so embarrassed and horrified if my domestic lady called me boss. One thing that horrified me was that she didn't want to sit up in the front of the car with me when I had to take her to a taxi. Oscar Olifant says, there are very many such people. Just go through social media and see how alive racism still is. Racists have now recently become even more emboldened and in your face. We've seriously regressed in that regard. So I completely agree from the perspective, if we say the oppressor's perspective, right, of people who are racist and are still behaving a certain way. I think what maybe we have not taken the time to truly understand and unpack not just the traumas and whatever else, but how your mindset has been changed. That even though you're no longer a victim, survivor, an oppressed, disadvantaged person, that era is gone. You are still living like you are very much in that era. And I'm not saying that there isn't still racism and all of those things. I know this conversation is nuanced. What I am saying is there are people where time has moved forward. You have more rights, but you still are not comfortable in how things have evolved in your favor. Ingrid Royston says, do you have a boss or a boss at work? Is talking to your boss or boss with respect an apartheid thing? Ingrid, let's take a moment and just think about it carefully. I have a boss at work, but there's no way I would ever refer to him as boss. And if you think that it's just a word that's interchangeable with the word boss, then you are missing the nuance that I'm referring to. Because yes, somebody can be your boss translated into Afrikaans. You say ke baas. but we also know the context of when and how that was used, because I can tell you for a fact, or let me rather say this, you would need to share with me if you think that in the apartheid area that white folks were referring to their own bosses as boss, or if they were speaking to one another on a first name basis or Mr. whoever. Can you hear the difference? Those are those nuances that we need to be aware of. Abraham Gina says racists, like certain people, still think that they are the boss. They can't share how they felt in 94 when apartheid was dismantled. They were so disappointed. Gabriel Jeffrey says apartheid is dead. It has been replaced by corruption, nepotism, racism, tribalism, and a hatred of each other as fellow South Africans. We can't resuscitate apartheid and use it as a scapegoat anymore. Separate development is a thing of the past. Let us focus on fighting above tendencies and stop these toxic behaviors. Oppression is worse than apartheid. Mr. Jeffries, I'm very sorry, but I feel like you kind of missed what we were asking, right? Because nowhere are we saying apartheid, we didn't even say apartheid is an excuse for anything. We're referring to the fact that people's mindsets are still, they are walking around and living with a mindset like apartheid still exists today. Khotso in Pretoria. Hi, Khotso.
Hi, Relebogile, how are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
Good. Look, it's so true that there are a lot of people that still suffer from post-apartheid syndrome, right? And this you also see in voter behavior. I've had numerous conversations with our elderly, people who firmly believe that if I do not vote the ANC, apartheid will return, you know? And it's such a painful phenomenon to see that people are still captured and trapped in the past. So truly, apartheid did pull a number on a lot of people. So I concur with that sentiment.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that, Khotso. And I mean, I think I didn't think about it on that level. In my mind, if I'm driving and I see a bakkie and a person sitting in the back, my mind will automatically, if a person is not in the front, like I'm already looking to check, is there somebody in the front? But I never considered that people are jumping in the back themselves. So that is a very good example with what you're sharing of people who believe that if you don't vote the ANC, apartheid will return. Very real. Kakeho in Sunning Hill. Hi, Kakeho.
Hi, Relebogile, how are you?
Good, thanks, and you?
I'm very well, thank you. So Relebogile, you know what you're saying it breaks my heart actually, because I can't say I was I wasn't born, in that time, and I didn't live through it. But I see how my aunts and uncles and parents behave around white people because to go through that system back in the day. And I think when we go through tough times, my dad can take me to therapy. They didn't go through that. They didn't get a chance to reconcile their emotions or what it meant to be oppressed, but not given the opportunities you deserve, even if you deserved them. So therefore, they still experience it. And in a way, we also experience it. And then we low-key have this love-hate relationship with our white friends because we see how our parents behave around them or how other black people, you know what I mean?
I never thought of what you just said. Your friends, your peers. How do your parents behave? What do they do or what do they say?
So I think my mom is okay. Like she's been able to engage with white people who are her friends and colleagues. But my dad has this, I think this anger because he didn't get the opportunity that he would have gotten otherwise. He told me a story when he was at an interview where he wasn't allowed to sit on the chair. He had to stand during the interview, So because he can still tell that story, it means he didn't heal from it, fully. So stuff like that, tough, but so we still experience it in a way, like the effects of apartheid. It's not just spatially, it's emotionally as well through our parents and grandparents.
I mean, another thing is like the fear of a German shepherd or police dog. That even today, that dog will represent like you being attacked for being black or not meeting curfew, not carrying your dompas.
Exactly, Relebogile. It might not mean that for me, but definitely means that for like an older aunt who actually experienced being chased by a dog, because it was attacking her. So it's tough, man. It's tough for us younger people to also relate, even though we don't hate our white friends, but you see the way their helper behaves, and you're like, but it's not them, it's her who, she behaves like this
Yes.
because of her past. But then
Yes.
it creates animosity. But yeah, I
Eish.
mean, it's deep. But it's
Yo.
thanks. I just wanted to share that.
Thank you so much, Katlego from Sunning Hill, for sharing that. I never thought about that part of how your parents, older generation, would behave around your friends or your white friends. Yo, guys, people that are younger than you. James in Soweto, hi. Hi, James. Okay, let's see what is happening with James. I'm going to pass him back on to our producer there. In the interim, we've got some more messages that are coming through. One says, it's called internalized racism. Why are the top private schools headed mainly by white people? Many people still believe that whiteness equates with excellence, and in many other sectors as well. All right, James in Soweto, hi.
Hey, Relebogile, are you good?
I'm good. Thank you.
Look, I also posted that I still believe the apartheid mentality still exists, and I'll tell you what, it's very sad. I went for an interview at one of the universities in Pretoria. I won't mention the name. There were I was interviewed by 4 white women sitting there comfortably. And I asked myself, in this day and age.
Yo, can you just bring your mouth back to the microphone? We lost you. You said, and I asked myself.
Okay. Yes, I asked myself, do they require legislation for them to make me comfortable? I mean, it's 2026. We still 4 white women interviewed me, sitting there comfortably. They saw nothing wrong, so the point that I'm driving is that it's still
Yo,
there.
James, I don't know
And
what
then-
you're changing on your side, but you've now gone back to us not being able to hear you properly.
Am I clear now?
Much better, yes.
Okay, thank you. What I'm saying is that I went in that interview and I expected change, but I didn't set it. And psychologically, although I was prepared, it affected me to say, these 4 women are sitting here comfortably interviewing me as a black person. Doesn't that bother them? So the point that I'm driving is that it's still there, it exists.
Well, look, James, let me just, on what you're saying. So there's also the perspective. I mean, I don't know if the 4 white women that were sitting there are recruiters or if they're also just working there. There's that element, where I don't necessarily think it would be fair to have an expectation for them to feel uncomfortable. I don't know if you get what I'm saying, but in your view, what would you have hoped? Are you feeling like if there's 4 of you sitting here, your company should be doing better? Or are you feeling like if there's 4 of you sitting here as white women, you should be feeling bad that it's just 4 white women?
Look, you see, for me to be comfortable as well, I mean, it's 4 people working for that university interviewing me, and then bearing in mind that we've got a history, that thing triggered to say, here I am sitting in front of 4 white women at this university, they are interviewing me. The point that I'm driving is that triggered the mind to say, I expected a transformation, to say I expected somebody of my color to be part and parcel of that interview, because that triggered that. Although I was comfortable, but I'm trying to say psychologically that affected me, bearing in mind the history that we have, especially in terms of our generation.
I hear you, James, and Soweto. Thank you so much for sharing that view on your side. Lost Born Innocent on Facebook says, reading ideological books like Karl Marx is apartheid era mindset. Overall, guys are still trapped in that nonsense. I'm just thinking about the fact that apartheid era mindset can mean so many other things as well. You know, something that is ingrained in your day to day, how you've always done things, that you're still doing them the same way, even though you don't have to. Because there is a comfort in what you know, even if what you know was not good for you. For some, changing into what you don't know, even though it could be better for you, is harder. So it's easier to stick to what you know. And I say the word easier in inverted commas because it requires one to actually do that work, whatever that work is, whatever that work looks like. I was even trying to remember the interactions between my grandmother or conversations she would have. Can you guys imagine how shocked my grandmother, like, as in, I remember her saying to me the one time, yo guys, ew, the first man I brought home, my first boyfriend, was a European man. And after my grandmother met him, she literally said to me, what is it like to kiss a white person? Right? And I was like, it's the same. Even though I wanted to just like throw her off and say, you know, something random like marshmallows. I don't know. But in her mind, even when she was greeting him, her tone, her demeanor changed. This is a child in relation to her, a person in her 80s. So that mindset, it seems, does remain. Good afternoon, 702 with the Relebogile team. I'm a black woman and I call my female colleagues, especially female security personnel and cleaners, madam. The males, I address them as sir or abuti. I see a lot of white females are uncomfortable when I say madam. Well, I just tell them, get over yourself. I call all female colleagues madam. Okay, I see both sides. I see both sides in the sense that if that is the connection a person is making to the word madam, right? And you want to find a way to address a person while still being respectful and in a way that they are comfortable with you being addressed. I just feel like also, madam, I'm not sure about that one. I'm definitely not sure about that one in particular. Bongani Gomo says, yes, there are people like this. You find them making statements such as things were much better then. They live in apartheid 2.0 in their household for sure. That's from Bongani Gomo. Emmanuel on Facebook says, yes, there are still these people and power dynamics haven't shifted. People have no land, no jobs, no stable income, no clear future. So they do so to seem respectful. That's the message coming through over there. And we will continue with this conversation. There's a WhatsApp from Barry who says, thank you for a fantastic show. I think we have to draw the distinction between apartheid ending officially and the fact that it wasn't dismantled. Sadly, we still see the legacy of it in things like apartheid spatial planning, access to care, etc. I think we haven't given enough thought as a society to Fanon's work and Biko's work. I remember it's a really important conversation. That's from Barry. And I think you hit the nail on the head with what you said. Apartheid ending on paper, basically, does not mean that the systems that are now in place because of apartheid have necessarily been dismantled. We continue to come back. 011 883 0702, the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. It's 1:30, time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. The bail application of Sergeant Nkosi has been moved to next week, Monday. The court granted the state's request for a postponement despite attempts by Nkosi's lawyers for his bail application to be heard today. Nkosi made his first appearance in court following his arrest following a raid at his home last week. Western Cape Premier Alan Winde says he believes fuel supply in the province is stable following last week's price hike. As the Easter weekend began, Winde says 30 stations were out of diesel and 20 ran out of petrol, but he says the situation has improved. Winde says he expects another update on the fuel situation in the Western Cape this evening once officials have met with the fuel industry. And one of Australia's most decorated soldiers has been charged with war crimes in Afghanistan. Ben Robert Smith is accused of murdering unarmed prisoners captured in that country. In 2020, a military report revealed grave allegations against Australian troops sent to fight Taliban forces. Well, those are the headlines. This EWN and more at 2 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Right, we still got those delays in Midrand. We're told they're pretty heavy. It's on the N1 North between New Road and Olifantsfontein Road. It's due to roadworks. In Bedfordview, there's queuing traffic on the N3 North between Van Buren Road and the Gululis Interchange. In Protea Glen, there are some delays on the N12 West between Klipsrade Valley Road and the R558. A number of traffic lights that are out in Midrand at Old Pretoria Road and Olifantsfontein Road. Staying in Midrand on the N1 South and Olifantsfontein, in Centurion at Old Johannesburg and Brakfontein. In Brakfontein as well, we've got traffic lights that are out at Naumafias Drive and Olivenhoutbosch. And in the CBD in the capital, Visagie and Sisulu, there are traffic lights that are out there. If we have missed anything, please do feel free to let us know. That is by sending us an X at EWN Traffic or WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
Clement Maniatella.
Weekday mornings,
9 to 12.
9 to 12.
I'm sure you've seen the Department of Health come out and say, well, these products are actually still safe for use, but I know you've been raising some concerns. Where do you see the gaps here?
Said our response as an organization, we said that it's important for them, the South African government, put in place standards that are, transparent to ensure that all of us who are using whatever product, especially a product that comes into contact with our body, they need to put in place standards to ensure that those who are using products like sanitary pads and panty liners, they are menstruating with safety, with dignity, but most importantly with the support that they need from their government.
Tracy Malawana, founder and executive director of I Menstruate Movement.
Clements Maniatella.
9 to 12 on 702.
New year, new you, same trusted. We buy cars since 2001. Whether you're buying or selling, We Buy Cars makes the process simple and seamless. Simply visit webuycars.co.za to complete the Sell My Car form for an offer, or browse through thousands of vehicles of all shapes and sizes. Ready to buy, sell, or trade in? Visit webuycars.co.za or one of their branches nationwide.
Running a business from a portable hard drive? First, you must find the thing somewhere among your invoices. The same invoices that are supposed to be on it. Then you have to twist the cable just the right way for it to work. And if it crashes, maybe from that virus of Y2K, everything crashes with it.
Still storing your business data on a hard drive? Upgrade to secure, reliable cloud storage from MTN. Let's talk shop. Visit mtn.co.za/business on MTN Store. MTN Business, Africa's leading enabler of connectivity and converged solutions.
Can you shoot to the top? Hollywood Bets invites you to jump in for an adrenaline-pumping spinning adventure with the Spinner Zonke Tournament of Champions. You stand a chance to win a share of an epic 500,000 Rand in cash in a thrilling battle for riches. Rise to the challenge and bet R2 or more on selected slots to climb the leaderboard. Ready to go for gold? Your action adventure starts here. Bet now.
T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
facts. President Cyril Ramaphosa appointing Deputy SARS Commissioner Dr. Ngubani Makubu to take over as the National Commissioner. He'll take over from Edward Kisvetter on the 1st of May.
He originally joined SARS in the procurement space and then spent a while as acting CFO and then CFO, so he understands the business and has been Deputy Commissioner since 2023. He's been in the thick of it.
Charles de Vet's a tax executive.
The Money Show
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Curtis, is brought to you by APSA Sponsorships. For 20 years, APSA has been a proud sponsor of the APSA Cape Epic. And now they're giving you a chance to take your grit to the gravel. Join Team APSA Cycling on Strava. Upload your rides and you could win one of 2 APSA Cape Epic 2027 team entries. Because your story matters. APSA is a registered FSP.
Relebogile is on X at Relebogile M.
24 minutes to 2 o'clock, and we continue with our conversation that we've been having around people who are still suffering from the apartheid mindset, or they're suffering from post-apartheid syndrome, as Ivan Sambo shared, just sharing the experience that he had, saying that he's hired somebody to do his garden. He even refers to him as a gentleman, saying he's in his 50s or 60s. He's lovely, he does the garden well, but the person still refers to him as boss, even though he's repeatedly told them not to do so, even adding that whenever he goes to the garden refuse, he jumps in the back of the bakkie to sit with the garden waste and not with himself. So he still has to insist that the person sit at the front. And then he goes on to say, when I give him food, he sits on the floor when there is somewhere where he's able to sit. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. We've got some of your voice notes coming in.
I'm a Congolese. I work in South Africa for now 24 years. When my father came for the first time to visit me and he saw someone begging for money, a white person, he was so shocked. And then he was like, this is not normal. How a white man can beg about the things on the street. This is not normal. And he was so sad. He was so
sad. Good afternoon to you, the team and the listeners. Fanny should be talking about this today. I saw a video on TikTok on this lady started a new town or one day town for white people only. There are already 15 families. So I think there will always be something that reminds us. In South Africa, there will always be something that lives us, that takes us to the apartheid era. I couldn't believe that woman, the things she was saying. And she's young. That's the thing. She's not 70 years old. She is young, but she feels God created white people to be superior to black people. And we should not mix. I blame Jan van Riebeck. Shame. He should never, because now people are miserable.
Yo, thank you so much for those voice notes. Kanye in Johannesburg. Hi, Kanye.
Hi, Relebogile. How are you?
Good, thanks. And you?
I'm good too. I just want to talk about my grandmother who's still suffering from post-apartheid syndrome.
Yes.
Yes, so my mom worked for these farmers for over 50 years. My grandmother. I call her Mama, actually.
Yes.
So she stopped working about 2 years ago because they decided to sell the farm and go live in Cape Town. The thing is, the initial owners, who were the parents of this, the current farmer who left, the parents were there. So they passed away. And then their son was left. And my grandmother started working for them when he was around 5 years. But now, years later, my grandmother calls him and his wife Mama and Papa.
How?
Yes.
That is like, I can understand saying Marokoki.
Hey.
I can understand as in to translate. There are people who can refer to me as Mokoklegi's mother. That
Yes.
but the fact of you must call the people Mama le Papa. Oh my gosh.
It's so sad that they don't even have kids, but they are also younger than her, but it's Mama and Papa, and you will not have any argument with her about them. The saddest part is that they even left without paying her any cent for her retirement or anything. We don't even know where to get the help, because with her she's like, just leave. She says leave Makhoa, tlogela Makhoa. So we don't know how to help her.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what to say there, and maybe there's a psychologist or somebody listening that can share, like, how do you get a person to no longer live in the mindset of being in the era of apartheid, where you are being severely and legally oppressed? Sure. Lebza, post-traumatic stress disorder is quite a scientific condition, just like those who come back from war situations carry anxiety. And when war veterans display signs of trauma, they don't get blamed. It's put squarely on the war, and ways of helping them are actively sought. But when it comes to apartheid, it's the traumatized who are the problem. Let it be known that this was of the most violent system meted out to other humans in recent history. The younger generation may do it out of understandable ignorance, but those who know don't mock those who survived molestation. We figure out ways of being supportive to them. Only consistency is required. And then on Facebook, Anita Jane Sinclair says, my gardener calls me mommy. I am the same age as his mother, and my 92-year-old mother he calls Neni. If anyone even tries to call me madam, they get told very quickly that a madam runs a brothel, and I am certainly not a madam. Rather call me by name. That's an interesting one. More of your voice notes on 072 702 1702.
Hi, Relebogile. You know, some of the things are so we used to speaking in a certain way that really resembles a certain time in apartheid, because most of the guys in the townships, you can hear them saying, hey, Ngamla, hey, Mlungu, hey, Mlungwam. That also, I think, reinforces this boss mentality that we're talking about. And it really, it won't end anytime soon, I think. I think it's it's engraved in our communities so much that we don't even see anything wrong with it. This is Mdu in Joburg.
Thank you so much, Mdu. And I mean, you are referencing something that connects to what the other message was that came in to say it is like PTSD. Now, here's the real question: how do we dismantle? Because I would assume that a person is not moving with the times, in inverted commas, because they don't feel safe too. They don't feel yet safe. Or, like what we say, it is that whole PTSD thing. It is PTSD. Another WhatsApp says, I'm addressed by my name. If madam comes up, I just say a madam runs a WHORE house, and I certainly don't, just for the kids in the car. Hi, Relebogile. My father hired a young white guy, made him to build a lapa for him, and yet he still called him boss. What? Guys, I need to read that again. My father hired a young white guy to build a lapa for him, yet the father still referred to the young white guy he hired to do the job and is paying as boss. And maybe the fact that the lingo, I've heard people saying my mlungu, referring to their boss. I've heard that. I've been told, like, if you have staff at home, oh, umlungu, ulukhualabona, you are their white person, you are their boss, you are their boss. And it's treated maybe as like a tongue-in-cheek situation. But wow, I did not expect some of these messages that are coming through at all. I'm not going to even lie to you about that one, but it clearly is something that should be approached like a PTSD. And maybe something for us to think about. How do we make this country to be to reach a point where everybody feels safe enough to no longer be part of a systematic, what was then legal oppression system? What needs to happen for that to change? And again, we are still not fully out of it. We aren't out of it. We have not dismantled all of the other things. We changed the law, and we can see changes in certain places, but not in all places. I did not expect that word. I'm not even going to lie to you. I did not expect that at all. And I hope we can all find ourselves in a position where we start to help heal the generations that came before us. Even if they're not going to tell us, even if they say you can't tell me otherwise and they're stubborn about it, yes, that's how some people can be. Show them how differently it can be through your own life. Show them. Doesn't mean we don't have problems, doesn't mean racism is no longer an issue in this country. It doesn't mean any of those things, but we would at least like for the people who are oppressed for years to enjoy their lives now. Sit in the front seat. Like you're in the back of a bakkie. Yo, guys, let me not go too far in because my heart might get too sore. But thank you so much for all of your messages, your calls, and your WhatsApps.
Bongani Bingwa, 702 Breakfast.
Weekday mornings, 6 to 9.
Tuesday will be Power Plant Day and Bridge Day, all wrapped up in one in Iran. There'll be nothing like it. Open the effing strait, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch. Praise be to Allah. President Donald J. Trump.
President Trump had a few occasions of threatening the Iranians. On March 21, he said you'll have 5 days. On March 26, he said 10 days. And now the latest is until today. So we'll have to see whether he's going to see it through and what exactly the Iranians are going to do in response.
Fasten your seatbelt. It's about to become a more bumpy ride. Dr. Oscar van Heerden from the University of Johannesburg.
Bongani Bingwa, 6 to 9.
On 702.
Mzansi, for as little as R7.50, you can play Powerball Plus for an estimated 60 million rand jackpot this Tuesday. Don't delay. Play Powerball Plus for an estimated 60 million rand jackpot today, and you could be celebrating the millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
In the world of finance, manufacturing, and mining, automating business processes is a crucial factor in stimulating an organization's growth and bottom line. Zoe Projects and Consulting, a specialized process engineering and automation firm, offers comprehensive data and business systems analysis to optimize your company's processes, to save time, reduce costs, and better efficiency. Go to zoeprojects.co.za and get in touch with Zoe Projects and Consulting today.
Small business owners speak a language of their own, and it's a language MTN Business and 702 understand very well. That's why we're celebrating SMEs who walk that entrepreneurial talk in the 702 MTN Small Business Awards. From the townships to the suburbs and everywhere in between, small businesses are proving that big things can grow from bold ideas. And if that sounds like your business or one you know, go to primediaplus.com to enter or nominate them, because once we start talking about your business, who knows how much further it could go. The 702 MTN Small Business Awards. Let's talk shop. T's and C's apply.
702
Tech Feature.
10 minutes to 2 o'clock. It is time for our Tech Feature. And for today in our Tech Feature, we are chatting about how individuals are increasingly relying on AI to prepare and submit insurance claims specifically. And we are joined in this conversation by Mtho Mapumulo, partner at Adams and Adams Insurance Law Practice. Get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Welcome to the show, Mtho. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Relebogile, and good afternoon to your listeners. Thank you for having me.
So, Mtho, let's talk about when, from your perspective, AI and insurance started to meet. Where did that marriage even begin?
That's a very good question. Well, the insurance space is quite adaptive, if I can say that, in terms of how quickly it responds and reacts to the changing environment spaces. So it's not really surprising that there's been very interesting developments from different spaces and different spheres of the industry. And for most part, it's been positive developments, because ultimately the insurance industry is designed to make the policyholders or the insured's lives a bit more easy, and be able to respond to claims much quicker, etc. But I would be lying to you if I was to say I know the exact date and time and timing, but I think this would have gained momentum from the past 12, 18 months in terms of the developments and the growth in the usage of AI in the insurance space.
So how, and maybe share, what are people doing? How are they using AI to prepare and submit insurance claims?
So people lately, what we see, and this has been also from the observation or in my personal experience, where what we see normally is just lots of correspondent where people are submitting claims, and say your claim is when you file your claim, you trigger the investigation processes to in relation to that claim. But then what we see lately is that correspondence, it's quite evident that it's being run through AI tools, whereby a simple question gets a response of half a page or a page, unnecessarily, because sometimes all that is required is, say, it's a verification process. It's just the basics, the basic information that is required relating to your claim. But I think naturally, during this step of the process, policyholders do get to some sort of a defensive mode, and they try to basically put up not a fight, but a justification as to why it should be verified. But I mean, that is just part of the insurance process to say, the claiming process to say it's got the different stages. But Relebogile, what we see really, and at least from from an attorney's perspective, what I've seen is people submitting so much of unnecessary information that it actually takes more time to actually get the process going, just because you need to deal with or rather sift through information that's really not relevant. And what that does is, especially when it gets to the legal processes, you end up spending so much time dealing with voluminous submissions, and in turn that impacts on the cost of running the whole process. And in litigation, what you then end up with is the legal cost going up in a scenario where really it shouldn't be taking long, because it's just the basic question. So I think that is what, at least my observations in recent months when we get submissions. from the insurers. And if I may just add on that, I read a report by the NFO, being the National Financial Ombud. They were complaining of the same thing, to say they are taking long now to finalize matters or to finalize disputes between policyholders and the insurers, because they've got to sift through lots of unnecessary information that is being put up in the submissions of disputes by them, by the policyholders. So that to me made lots of sense, because I compared that to what I've also seen in recent months. And so that is the difficulty, I think, that is being faced by many role players in the market.
So let me then ask this question. From what you're observing, or maybe what you're aware of, how can using AI to submit an insurance claim, outside of the delay and things like that, actually work against the person who's trying to claim? Outside of, sifting through unnecessary information, could it in any way compromise your claim, because you are relying on an AI bot, and maybe you have not, you're relying too much on it, that you find yourself being slightly compromised?
Absolutely. There are many possibilities, or there are many ways in which you can be jeopardized, or your claim be jeopardized by the usage of AI. Because what is quite evident sometimes is the allegations or the submissions being made. They make reference, for example, to certain legal framework that either does not exist, or sometimes it's outdated. Sometimes the developments in the law have ruled out or cancelled out that particular legal principle. And what you then find is a person would then rely on a specific principle or specific legal instrument that doesn't really have any force, or it's not directly applicable to the particular subject matter at hand. So that's just one of the examples where you can be jeopardized by the usage of AI. But also, I mean, you as the policyholder know your issue or your claim and the facts surrounding your claim much better than any other AI tool. So in terms of at least providing the facts as they are, you do not need to be on some defensive mode, or a defensive, or come from a defensive basis where there are certain.
I hear you.
I beg your pardon. Yeah. So I think when and I mean, if you want to use AI, I mean, we can put up some criticism on it, but it can also help. There are positives with it, but maybe some other time we can get to that. But I think if you are going to use AI, you need to be sure of the outcomes that come from it, so that you are able to verify certain information and see how it can really prejudice your case. And I think in the nutshell, there are lots of things that can really work against your claim if you if you rely on AI irresponsibly.
Thank you so much for chatting to us about this, Mto. Some considerations for all of us that may want to use AI to help prepare and submit insurance claims.
Let's count backward. 5, insurance. 4, pineapple. 3, insurance. 2, pineapple. 1, you're under.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Mzansi, for as little as R7.50, you can play Powerball Plus for an estimated 60 million rand jackpot this Tuesday. Don't delay. Play Powerball Plus for an estimated 60 million rand jackpot today. and you could be celebrating the millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, or cell phone banking. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery. And what will be coming up in the next hour of the show, a brand new series on what is sexuality and the different types of orientations. And then we also will have Nicolo with us answering all of your technical car questions. Get them in. It's 2 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. The bail application of Sergeant Fanny Nkosi has been postponed to next week, Monday. The court granted the state's request for the postponement despite attempts by Nkosi's lawyers for his bail application to be heard today. Nkosi made his first appearance in court following his arrest during a raid at his home last week. Earlier, the court denied the media's application to film and broadcast the court proceedings. He faces charges of theft, defeating the ends of justice, possession of unlicensed ammunition, as well as stun grenades. Nkosi has also been implicated at the Madlanga Commission, with some witnesses accusing him of tender rigging. At the same time, Chief of the Tshwane Metro Police Department, Yolandi Farrow, says controversial cop Sergeant Fanny Nkosi had no authority to interfere in the TMPD's internal matters. WhatsApp messages before the Madlanga Commission today show Nkosi has been in frequent contact with senior officials in the city regarding the awarding of tenders, contracts and invoice disputes. His regular contracts were TMPD Deputy Chief Umashi Dlamini and the city's Chief Financial Officer Gareth Mnisi. Evidence shows that the three men allegedly colluded to award TMPD tenders to their preferred bidders, including a company belonging to Nkosi's brother. As the head of the TMPD, Farrow says she was unaware of Nkosi's influence within her department.
Sergeant Nkosi had no right to interfere in any procurement-related matters within the TMPD. He has no authority. He had no permission. I was not aware that he is busy interfering. I don't know Sergeant Nkosi. I never made contact with him. The first time I saw Sergeant Nkosi was on the Madlanga Commission.
More than 400 families in Ndwendwe in KwaZulu-Natal are set to receive new homes. President Cyril Ramaphosa is in that area today to launch the Truth and Reconciliation Commission Housing Reparation Assistance Program. The launch coincides with the 30 years of the adoption of the Constitution, Nhlanhla Mabaso reports.
During the Truth and Reconciliation Commission hearings, Ndwendwe in northern KwaZulu-Natal was identified as one of the areas where homes were destroyed and thousands left displaced. Over 4,000 houses were destroyed in KZN, with over 472 in the area alone. Many left their homes to seek shelter elsewhere due to segregation and later due to the torching of homes leading up to 1994. Deputy Minister for Justice and Constitutional Development, Andres Nel, says the reparation launch is a significant milestone.
The Constitution says that we recognize the injustices of our past. It says that we honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land. It says that we've adopted this Constitution to heal the divisions of the past.
Meanwhile, government says only 200 houses have been approved thus far. Nhlanhla Mabaso, Eyewitness News, Ndwendwe.
Western Cape Premier Alan Winde says he believes fuel supply in the province is stable following last week's price hike. As the Easter weekend began, Winde says 30 stations were out of diesel and 20 ran out of petrol, but he says the situation has improved. Winde says he expects another update on the fuel situation in the province this evening once officials have met with the fuel industry. He adds that the Astron Energy refinery in Cape Town that was shut down last month for planned maintenance will be coming back online soon.
We've got allocation of fuel and the coming back online of the refinery here in the Western Cape with the crude oil already delivered for that refinery and it's firing up. But that is going to take us probably into another month and a half to 2 months.
Winde says his government's focus is now to plan for the war in Iran that could extend beyond another month.
For every week that we go on with further conflict, we have to then start putting different mechanisms in place. That is making sure that we've got sufficient fuel then for standby in firefighting, for hospital generators, etc., etc. But those are all the mitigation plans that are more medium term.
And one of Australia's most decorated soldiers has been charged with war crimes in Afghanistan. Ben Robert Smith is accused of murdering unarmed prisoners captured in that country. In 2020, a military report revealed grave allegations against Australian troops who had been sent to fight Taliban forces. The report accused the elite units of torture, summary executions and body count competitions. Should Robert Smith be found guilty, he faces a maximum sentence of life in prison. He has maintained his innocence throughout, launching legal action against the newspapers who aired those allegations. Gold is trading at $4,668.23 an ounce. The rand is at 16.83 to the dollar, 22.32 to the pound, 19.45 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $109.64 a barrel.
In Midrand, there's been an accident on the N1 North before New Road, slowing down traffic right from Allendale Road. In Bedford View, there's queuing traffic on the N3 North between Van Buren Road and the Galulis interchange. And traffic lights are out in the Tshwane CBD at Besagi and Sisulu.
It's a cloudy afternoon in Gauteng with showers and thundershowers expected. Temperatures have peaked at highs of between 22 and 24 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, the bail application of Sergeant Fanning-Nkosi has been postponed to next week, Monday.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
You're with Relebogile Mabotja
Live, streaming countrywide
on the Prime Media Plus app.
DSTV channel 856,
92.7
and 106 FM.
After 2 o'clock, the second and final hour of 702 afternoons with me, Relebogile Mabotja. If you are thinking to yourself, it really feels like a Monday, how awesome to know it isn't, right? We already have started the week on quite a high note, if I say so myself. Coming up in this hour of the show, we are starting a brand new series on the different types of sexualities and sexual orientations. And if you've ever wondered about pansexuals, demisexuals, or certain parts of the LGBTIQ plus community in relation to sexual orientation, then definitely the series is for you. We're going to kick off with Professor Anthony Brown, professor in the School of Interdisciplinary Research and Graduate Studies at the University of South Africa, UNISA. And then we wrap up with our car feature. You could already get your questions in early for Niccolo, who'll take all of your technical car questions. So get in touch, 011 883 0702, SMS us 31702, tweet at Relebogile M, at Radio 702 using the hashtag 702 afternoons, and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702.
702.
Series Edition.
Series Edition time. We are starting a series this April on the different types of sexualities and sexual orientation. So today is episode 1. We're talking what is sexuality. And don't worry, we're not going to cover everything today. We're going to have 3 other episodes where we delve into detail with the different types of sexualities. We're joined by Professor Anthony Brown, professor in the School of Interdisciplinary Research and Graduate Studies at UNISA. And please feel free to get in touch with us, 011 883 0702, in the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. Professor, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Relebogile, and good afternoon to the listeners.
Professor, I want us to kick off by giving a very clear and distinct difference between gender identity and sexual orientation. I know that some people can be confused at times. So I'll give an example of a person can be somebody who identifies as a different gender, but could still be considered heterosexual. Or sometimes there is a thing where a person will think, well, if there's a man who enjoys women's clothes, whether you call it cross-dressing or getting into drag, does not automatically mean that they are gay or homosexual. So can we start off with that clear distinction to really lay the land on what it is we are talking about and what is sometimes a confusing subject for many when these communities are grouped into one group, which is LGBTIQ+, and not everybody will necessarily even consider themselves as part of that group.
Thank you so much. I think you have raised a very interesting topic, which is very much layered. Let's start off with gender. Gender is a social construction. It is what society decides along the lines of maleness, femaleness, or not any of those. And within society, there are unwritten rules as to how you present in these constructs of maleness and femaleness. And you see, I don't even want to venture into the words men and women because they mean different things to different people in different contexts and societies. So in terms of these constructs of gender, you express yourself in a particular way. There's expected or expectations that women would dress in a particular way, behave in a particular way, behave in a particular way. And that is a very important part. And so for males. Now, the blurry lines of maleness and femaleness comes from their sex. Sex is the biological characteristics. If you are born with a penis, society constructs you to be a male. And because of this penis, you must be male with male characteristics and subsequently express in a male way. But it's not as linear, because it identifies a particular sex characteristics, but it does not determine your gender. That's a social construction. That's the difference there.
Yes. So now, and I'm glad we've parked that aside so that anybody who calls in around this, it is clear that you can't look at a person and assume their sexuality, because sometimes you'll see a woman who is more masculine in their features or even how they dress, and the assumption is she's a lesbian. And the same can apply to men who, you find men who like wearing nail polish, who like to enjoy a certain type of fashion. I know there was a time they were referred to as metrosexuals. We'll talk about that one as well. But the assumption will be, oh, that guy is gay. And I think that's why it was important to just make that clear differentiation. So now when we say, what is sexuality? What do we look at? Because I would imagine from a layman's perspective, and I include myself in that batch, when you say what sexuality is, you are saying if you are to go and do adult things with another person, who is that person?
So sexuality, Relebogile, is another messy construct. It's who you are drawn to. Who are you attracted to? Many a times we are attracted physically. Oh, I like this yellow bone. And that could attract you. It could be emotional. It could be romantically. So there are many aspects that attracts us to the next person. And so that is your sexual, what draws you sexually to the next person. There are people who would say to you, oh, I want somebody to be curvaceous. I want somebody to be light-skinned. I want somebody to be dark-skinned. So the multiple physical, and there's some people who would say, I like a guy who's soft, or I like a guy with a very boisterous voice. And so there are many aspects, physically, emotionally, romantically. Oh, a guy who buys me flowers, or a lady who cooks for me. Those are things that make you sexually attracted to the next person. That's sexuality. And it could be that you are sexually attracted to the same person, to different genders and sexes, and different types of expressions. And they are not all packed in a line, they are multiple.
So, if we're going to use what you're saying, and I love that you're using the word attraction, because that is what the signal would be for the person themselves. Because now I'm going to ask the difficult question, which is a
Right.
person's sexuality determined? Like, is it already in existence when they are born? And I know this is a very layered conversation that has so many angles, be it psychological and all of those things. But as we're setting the basis, you do have individuals who, because of their faith, for example, believe that there's no such thing as being born being gay. And there are people who can say, at one point I was gay, and now I am no longer gay. So when does sexuality actually enter a person? Very hard question.
It is a hard one that can get me in a lot of hot water with our listeners today. But I need to say this to you. Sexuality and the attraction to the next person is not a once-off experience that makes you drawn to this person. It's something that is consistent and persistent. It is there all the time. I'm attracted to women all the time. It's not the one moment that you looked at this one person, which may be a male, and you would say, oh, wow, I've never seen such a hot guy and I want to be attracted to, or I'm attracted to him. It's not that once off, oh, and the other excuse, oh, I was drunk. No, it's not that once off incident. It is the persistent, continuous attraction and navigation and desire for that person that determines your sexuality or your sexual orientation or your sexual attraction.
Sure.
Now, I mention all of these different words and they are messy and they actually don't mean the same, but we will unpack them as we go.
So, based off of what you said, because
Relebogile?
I can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, I can.
Okay, wonderful. I can tell there's a slight delay. So, let's
Yes,
just
I
be
can
on
hear you. Yes.
So I'm gonna do the following. We're gonna there's a bit of a delay. Let's see how the network holds up. If we do need to switch up, then we'll get you on a different line. I love what you said, that it's not a once-off experience. That it is that thing that you are attracted to, which basically answers the question for many people. That if a person, so I'm seeing messages coming in saying, so are they born that way? I want us to take a moment and maybe you can share with us. People can be socialized a certain way where certain things become acceptable. And some people can make choices based on what society expects them to do, even though their true desires remain internal. Hence, there are terms like an after 9. So for those who don't know, there was a TV show, a drama series many years ago on SABC 1, and it was around men who are in marriages, but they're married to a wife, they have kids, it's the picture perfect thing, but their desires are, they are attracted to men and they engage in those relationships. So where does it start and end the conversation of, there are people who don't even need to have kissed another person to know they are attracted to women or they're attracted to men. Then there are people who they maybe go their whole lives believing they're attracted to men, but actually later find out, actually I'm not attracted to men, I'm attracted to women. Then, and I'm going to add the extra layer. You get the people, because it's so deep. You get the people who would have and for everybody with children in the car, please by all means, as we get maybe a bit gritty with what we're sharing, feel free to switch stations. But in terms of, you get the people who, for example, say, well, I just have intercourse with men, but I would never date a man. I just have fun play with women, but I would never actually date a woman. So help us understand then what becomes your sexuality if you even have a term called gay for pay.
Yeah.
Yo, it's
you
a lot.
are throwing it in there
I'm
and you're
throwing
making
it in there.
a whole poiky cause. Relebogile.
This is
But let me-
becoming a thesis.
I love this. But let me first deal with a question that was asked by one of the listeners. I do want to say that in society,
yes?
Can you hear me,
Yes, I
Relebogile?
can hear you. I can hear you.
All right. So there's something that we need to understand. When children are born, they are born in a society with a ready-made script. The script determines that you are either male or you are female. And then within the scripts, there are certain ways of expression. The way you dress, the way you laugh, the way you are attracted. You are taught how to be that male or that female. And then you have to perform the script as a male. You must, round about 16, 15, get attracted to the opposite sex. You must dress in a particular way. And then later on, you discover this guy is 18, 19, and he expressed differently, and he speaks differently, and he feels differently. And then he says, no, but I am attracted to John. And everybody would say, but how? You are a rugby player, you are a football player. But this person was socialized into this role until they discovered who they genuinely and truly are. And this is where that confusion is coming in. Are you born or did you make a choice? Is sexuality a choice? No, it's not that. It is the valorized heterosexual culture that has a fixed script in which we are all born into. And once you deviate, you get punished. So a lot of people hide under the norm script of being a real man and a real woman until such time where they no longer can hide and say, I'm accepting myself beyond punishment. I'm going to live who I am. And this is where people then embody their true self. So this whole thing or nature around or aspect around, are you born? No, it's a matter of what naturally are you attracted to, and at what point do you discover this natural attraction? Because we are all clouded by the social script that governs our identity and our behavior.
Would you say that we have automatically been socialized that gender and sexuality go hand in hand? And I'm falling a little bit outside of the scope of what we're talking about with this comment I'm going to make. But even where a man is heterosexual, obviously the manhood is placed on how he performs the sexuality. So I will hear of, Prince KB, well-known DJ, has shared very openly about his journey with not sexuality, but with physical intimacy. And he even went on to say that being in a relationship as a man where the expectation is you always want to have sex has its own things to it. So when we bring it back to this conversation of what is sexuality, how have we been socialized that act, it actually determines not only are you a man, but are you man enough?
Yes. I think that's such a powerful question that you are asking. But let me take the long route to it. First of all, you see, there's a difference between your sexual identity, your sexual behavior, and your sexual orientation. right? Your sexual identity is who you say you are. I am a man. And my sexual orientation is I'm attracted to to other women, but my sexual behavior, which is my desires and pleasure, I sometimes enjoy having intercourse, sexual intercourse with a man. And who you have desire and pleasure does not identify your sexual orientation. I may still be attracted to women, but my desire and pleasure is with a man or the same sex or the opposite sex. And this is how complicated it is. And the one doesn't determine the other. And it doesn't also make you less than a man, but society has designed the script in such a way that when you are male, you must have a particular size of a penis and it must perform in a particular way. And this is what makes you a man, a real man. And in our context, an African man that strong. And if you do not express and present in that particular way, you are not a real man. And then people can even ask, oh, okay, are you a morphe or what is going on? And
And still
lot
holding
of men,
on to those very degrading terminology and things like that. Yes.
Yes, because it emasculates you, because masculinity is almost so fixed. And you know, we're using all these terms that are so horrible, Relebogile. To be masculine is really conscripted in a particular way. You need to satisfy your female partner or your partner of the opposite sex. You cannot in any way think or consider sexual pleasure and sexual desire with the same sex. And I'm going to say a last thing before you come in.
Yes.
I have read research of men who were raped by other men. The fact that they were raped was not the issue. The fact that they had an erection was what caused so much trauma. Does that mean they enjoyed the act?
Does
What
that mean I'm
caused
gay?
the arousal? Yeah. And does that mean I'm gay? And so this is because of this fixed social script of what it means to be male and female in society.
And thank you for sharing that note that you did, because we also know that in that category of violence, we know that the human body will respond in a certain way.
Yes,
Hence, many victims of rape will say, my body betrayed me. But again, that experience, as in physical response to touch, won't necessarily mean you are gay or straight. Physical response to touch can just be physical response to touch. As in, if a man who is very straight is blindfolded and another man comes and kisses him, and in his mind, it's a woman he's not seeing, it does not mean he's necessarily into men like that. So now let me ask the question.
That's right.
What is the definition of heterosexuality?
So heterosexuality is an individual who is physically, romantically, and emotionally, emotionally attracted to the opposite gender or the opposite sex. Physically, emotionally, and romantically attracted to the opposite sex or opposite gender. And I say this, sex or gender, because there are people of the opposite sex who do not conform to the opposite gender.
Yes.
And that's why we have a phenomenon, a horrible phenomenon in our country, which is called corrective rape, particularly aimed at lesbians. Because you're such a beautiful woman. How can you?
Or they say it's because you haven't met the right man yet.
So exactly.
Can
That's
I,
what it is.
before we go to the news, and I'm gonna graciously ask you to remain with us for a few minutes after the news.
I will.
Thank you so much, because I think we are really, really getting to the heart and the meat of a person starting to understand the concept of sexuality. And don't worry, we're going to have to do the re-education process each and every week to remind ourselves what we are referring to when we speak about sexuality. It is who you are attracted to. Once we get through the series, we would have broken down how for some people attraction is not even physical at all. It doesn't matter what is happening in terms of your private parts, if I want to say it that way. For them, it is about the soul and not what they are housed in. It's 2:30. Time for your latest Eyewitness News headlines. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Relebogile. Good afternoon. Suspended police officer Fanenkosi will remain behind bars for almost a week after his bid to have his bail application heard today failed in the Pretoria North Magistrates Court. Nkosi made his first appearance in court facing charges of theft, possession of ammunition and defeating the ends of justice. Nkosi, who testified for several days before the Malanga Commission last month, was arrested last week during a raid at his home. The Emfuleni local municipality has denied claims that it has neglected several communities plagued by a dire sewage spill crisis. It's been almost 10 years since the Debone Park and Sepisong townships complained about sewage water flooding their yards. The sewage emanates from broken pipes that have been neglected for years now. And more than 30 people have died after heavy rains caused severe flooding in Angola. The storms hit the capital Luanda and the coastal city of Benguela, where most of the damage has been reported. Floodwater has destroyed infrastructure and forced thousands of people to flee their homes. Those are the headlines this EWN and more at 3 or as it happens.
EWN Traffic.
Good afternoon, I'm Kosi Koramalingam. We are still dealing with a number of problems in the Midrand area. There's been an accident on the N1 North before New Road, slowing down traffic right from Allendale Road. Also in Midrand, there are heavy delays on the N1 North between New Road and Olifantsfontein Road due to roadworks. A number of traffic lights also out in Midrand at Old Pretoria Road and Olifantsfontein Road, as well as the N1 South and Olifantsfontein. In Bedford View, there's queuing traffic on the N3 North between Van Buren Road and the Kalulis interchange. And in Protea Glen, there are some delays on the N12 West between the Klipspruit Valley Road and the R558. Traffic lights are out in Swane, in Centurion at Old Johannesburg and Brakfontein, in Brakfontein at Nelmafias Drive and Olivenhout Bosch, at the CBD, Visachi and Sisulu, as well as Marabastad at WF Nkomo and Eskam Patlele Drive. If we have missed anything, please do feel free to let us know by sending us your latest traffic update on X at EWN Traffic or WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. 24 hours. This is what's happened in your world.
The ANC has been running a minority government in Gauteng since 2024, which means it could not pass the provincial budget without votes from parties in the opposition. This time around, the EFF refused to support the province's adjustment budget after its leader, Julius Malema, swore to never support any ANC proposal in the provincial legislature. This led to the ANC inviting the EFF to its coalition in the province. Premier Panyaza Lesufi says discussions were also had with the DA and MK party, but only the latter seemed to be interested in joining the executive.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
The go-to music festival, the blockbuster movie, the chart-topping global hit, the radio show you love. All of these rely on the elite skills and expertise of professional producers, sound engineers, and musicians. Academy of Sound Engineering offers the most professional training and education in audio, entertainment, and the entertainment business. Get in touch at ase.co.za, that's ase.co.za, or visit their world-class studios in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Academy of Sound Engineering, ultimate entertainment education.
You are not dreaming. You are repeating. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Insurance, pineapple. Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
Running a small business is not just about having a great idea. It's about having the right tools to grow it. That's exactly where MTN Business comes in. Beyond the 702 MTN Small Business Awards, they're doing a lot more to support SMEs. Tomorrow on the afternoon drive show with John Perlman, we'll be in conversation with MTN Business exploring their cloud solution tower and how it's helping small businesses become more agile, scalable, and cost-effective. Tune in and find out how they can help take your business further too. MTN Business, let's talk shop.
Gauteng is currently experiencing high water consumption. To avoid water interruptions, residents are urged to use water sparingly to allow equitable supply. Act now, save water. Every drop counts. This message is brought to you by the Department of Water and Sanitation, Rand Water, Gauteng Provincial Government, City of Johannesburg, City of Tshwane, and City of Ekurhuleni.
Mzansi, for as little as R7.50, you can play Powerball Plus for an estimated 60 million rand jackpot this Tuesday. So don't delay, play Powerball Plus for an estimated 60 million rand jackpot today, and you could be celebrating the millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app or cell phone banking, Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Cuba's the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Coming up
on 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702 Drive is coming up from 3 to 6 p.m. with John Perlman. John, happy fake Monday. Did you have a good weekend?
Yes, I did, thanks. How did yours go?
It felt like as I was about to get relaxed, then it was over. It's that thing where you feel like you're on holiday, but you're not really. So
No,
you have
but
to just
still.
guard yourself.
But still.
But still. And my son got so confused because he kept saying, is it a school night? Yes, it's another it's not a school night. He was so confused that why there's so many non-school nights, but best believe he was loving it because it meant screen time. What's coming up on your show today?
Coming up on the show, we're going to be taking a closer look at a very important study done that shows that gang activity is starting to move to smaller towns in the Western Cape. It's got something to do with port towns like Saldanha Bay being transit points for the international drug trade, but it does also raise really important questions about sending the SANDF into the Cape Flats. First of all, we heard on the midday report earlier with Jane Dutton that shootings are continuing in those communities, but if the gangs are actually relocating to Saldanha Bay, it's not that far. What does this actually mean? And I think this phenomenon of gangs moving to smaller towns is a problem in South Africa in general. More on that at 4:10. This spacecraft, Artemis, that went to the moon has got everybody talking. We're going to try and find out a little bit more about that. We'll do that at about 4:20. Fund that's been going for a while in South Africa, but it's on its third iteration, looking to seed really brilliant ideas. It's not a SME fund as such. I think they're aiming at bigger businesses than that. It's called the Harvest Fund, but they've created, I think, around 7,500 jobs. We're going to look at exactly what they're doing and why it's working. We'll do that at around 4:10. And then the threats issued by the United States President Donald Trump, saying that Iran has until 8 o'clock tonight. That's in the US, so 2 in the morning for us tomorrow, 8 o'clock US Eastern time, that is. Otherwise, they're going to flatten Iran. He talked about bombing them back into the Stone Age. The last time this was threatened by an American, a powerful American, was in 1965, and they were referring to Vietnam. And I think people will recall how that war turned out for the Americans, although the bombing certainly was severe and did huge amounts of damage to Vietnam. But we'll look more closely. What is the international rules of war? Because there is such a thing. Say about bombing power plants, bombing bridges, bombing railway infrastructure, and so on. There actually are agreed upon rules about this. Whether people abide by them is another matter. We'll look at that after 5.
So what's interesting is I'm seeing a lot of young people that are doing the reading, trying to explain to other young people why this is so significant, that the US and what it's taken years to build in terms of their relations with these other countries. So the last thing I saw, maybe was a day or two ago, was the conversation around the reason certain European countries are like, you can't one moment not tell us you want to go to war, not consult with us, now you want to use us in whatever it is you're doing. We don't want to be a part of that. And it's going to be absolutely interesting to see what the relationships with all the rest of the world are going to be like post however this is going to end.
Yeah, no, I think it's a huge factor. Of course, the post, we don't know when it's going to be post the war, because the war is very, very much underway
Yes.
at the moment. Crucial moment tonight. We'll see what happens.
We definitely will, and we'll also be tuning in at 3 o'clock to 702 Drive with John Perlman.
702.
Series Edition.
As we wrap up our series edition, we are still going to be going to the car feature. So please get through your car feature technical questions for Nicolo, who's on a hot standby, as we wrap up this conversation with Professor Anthony Brown on what is sexuality in our new series. Professor Anthony Brown is professor in the School of Interdisciplinary Research and Graduate Studies at the University of South Africa. Professor, just as we wind down this conversation, I want to read you a message from Tsidi, and then we can jump to the definition of homosexuality. So Tsidi says on the WhatsApp line, Relebogile, I'm of the opinion that we are born fluid, but then socialized in a specific direction. What are your thoughts on that, Professor? Because in some ways I kind of agree, but in other ways I'm not, in the sense that if I see many young men who could have chosen, in inverted commas, an easier life of heterosexuality, have found themselves from when they were a child not having known anything else, as in before society had an impact. And I know of parents who will say, I knew from the time my child was 2 years old that they were not straight. Can you let us know your thoughts on this concept of being born fluid?
Relebogile, I don't know if you could assist with your technical team,
Oh.
but I can't hear you clearly. But yeah, there we go.
Can you hear me now? Okay, there we go.
Now.
So
yes.
the message from...
But I did get the bit around
Okay.
fluidity.
Yes.
That we are born fluid. I think we are born on a journey of discovery. If we have grown up with maize and semp and if you can call it mohodu, then down the years, as we get exposed and we get proximity to other types of dishes and cuisines, we start to develop palates for those. And as we discover more, we like other ways of cooking and so on. That's the same thing with sexuality. You discover what attracts you. And remember, attraction is not once off. You are not born with a particular attraction, like you are not born with a particular style of dress. As you get exposed to clothing, you embody that and you embrace that. And that is sexuality. We discover it's fluid, and as you go, it will change. It is not forced. It cannot be prayed away. It cannot be beaten away. It is as you discover what naturally comes to you. And what naturally comes to you 6 months later might be something else. So that's the fluidity that we are talking about. It is not imposed. It is not forced. It's not violence that you are subjected to that brings about that change.
So as we close this conversation of what is sexuality, I want to ask the question around why. I mean, I know the answer, but this idea that something can turn a person gay, this innate fear that if we don't want those two dads near our child because they're going to make my child gay, I can pretty much put like all my money on the line to say there's probably a person listening to this conversation right now who's like, oh my gosh, there's an agenda to turn more people gay. Professor, can you hear me?
No, I think that's the message. Yes, I can hear you clearly.
Yes. So
Relebogile.
what can you say to the listeners about this concept of anything can turn a person gay?
There is no such nothing can make a person turn gay, as in nothing can make a person turn heterosexual. There was nothing that exposed you to be heterosexual. There was nothing that can turn you to make gay. In as much as heterosexuality cannot be acquired, diverse sexualities can also not be acquired. It's not a contagious, it's not a disease, it is not a form of ailment or ills that you can acquire. It is a natural form of humanity and being, because we are not just human beings, we are sexual beings. And that is a natural way of expressing the being.
Professor, thank you so much for your time in our series edition and for staying with us. We will be moving on next week to other episodes where we now delve into other sexualities like pansexual, demisexual, and best believe we're all going to be learning along the way.
702.
The car feature.
Time for the car feature at 14 minutes to 3 o'clock. Nicolo is with us. All of your technical car questions, get them in already. 011 883 0702 and the WhatsApp line 072 702 1702. And today we are chatting with Nicol around fuel saving tips every driver needs to know, because your Nicol, we are going through it, hey? Okay, I think we may have lost Nicol, but as we are... Oh, there we go. And let me remind everybody that this car feature on 702 Afternoons with me is brought to you by Stellantis South Africa. So yes, Nicol, we are all kind of in a panic about what's happening with petrol prices.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think we all know what's happening in the Middle East, and we've all seen it on the fuel pumps. So I think it's quite a relevant topic to describe the 10 best ways of saving fuel.
Okay, let's jump straight into it. And because you obviously know and understand the technical parts, a question I'm going to ask Nicol is our conversation covering all types of fuel, meaning petrol and diesel, or are we focusing on one?
So it will be petrol, diesel, and even if we look about energy, even electric vehicles. But let's quickly jump into it because then there's quite a few.
Yes.
The first one I want to get to is very logical, the power of not driving. So if you don't drive, you don't waste fuel. So plan your trips. I see people driving 2 kilometers to the gym, then go for the workout and drive 2 kilometers back home. What is the point there? Just jog to gym, do your gym workout, and then jog back. You might even get a few fitness points there. Or if you drop off the kids, also think, do you need something else? Am I driving past the shops? Rather do one trip than 2 individual trips. So I think we need to plan better. That's number one. Number two, that goes sort of with that point, is lift sharing. If you work with a colleague, you sort of live together, that is an easy way to halve your fuel bill immediately. If you can get more people in the car, again, you will save a lot of fuel. It might not be your best friends, but it's maybe more interesting listening to people than just getting annoyed with the peak hour traffic. So lift sharing, definitely start thinking about that. Number three is more closer to home, which is master your driving style. So what we found is if you're with a set vehicle, you can't change your vehicle now, but you have to commute, that's what you need to do. Your driving style is the biggest influence on fuel consumption. An aggressive driving style, accelerating hard, and don't forget about braking hard. Think of energy. You build up all this energy quickly by accelerating hard, and then you waste everything again by slamming on the brakes at the next red traffic light. So if you can time those lights, if you can coast if you can, if you don't accelerate fast, you will make a massive difference on your fuel consumption. So that's something there.
Can I just also, just on that, what you said, Nicol, just reiterate, you gave an example of how driving can impact fuel usage, right? And I know we've discussed this before, but can you remind us about, things like when you decide and how you decide to pick up the speed and, like you said, not stopping abruptly? Can you just guide us there for those that didn't get to hear that conversation?
I think the problem is anticipation. You need to anticipate that's a traffic doing ahead of you. There's no point doing robot traffic to traffic light racing. If you see it's peak traffic, you're going to be there for a long time anyway. Rather just accelerate slowly. Treat that accelerator pedal if there's an egg underneath, and if you press it too hard, it will crack and break. That's the sort of mindset that you have to get into. The next one I want to get into is the physics of speed. If you're on a national motorway, you're driving at 120. Remember, the aerodynamic drag of a vehicle is with the square of speed. It's not a straight line equation. It's a square of speed. So by driving at 100 kilometers per hour on a motorway, not 120, you will probably save in excess of 30% in fuel, just lowering your speed. The other thing is, when you think about energy, if you can shed excess mass on your vehicle, I see a lot of these people driving with their 4x4, especially the Land Cruiser Brigade, with all their high lift jacks, and there's a roof tent on the roof, and there's a hunting station in the back, and they haven't used those for like 2 years, but they're still driving with it. Take all the mass off. Any mass that you've got on a vehicle, additional mass, will take energy to accelerate and to brake. So that's an easy one there. Number 6 is watch your tire pressure. So underinflated tires have got more rolling resistance, so it will also damage your tires in the long run, but it will waste more fuel. So every time you fill up, let them check the tire pressures on your car. That is according to the manufacturer's spec. Maintenance of your vehicle. Remember the powertrain, it will run most efficiently if it's serviced. If you neglect the servicing on the vehicle, then it will start using more fuel. So don't neglect servicing. Obviously, there's other benefits of servicing as well. If we talk about aerodynamics regarding roof racks, we've done calculations where we've seen that if you put 2 bicycles on the roof and you drive at the national speed limit, you will add 1 to almost 2 liters per 100 kilometers with the aerodynamic drag of those bicycles on the roof of your car. So remove roof racks. If you have to carry bicycles, do it either in the vehicle or at the back of the vehicle, where it's a less of an aerodynamic penalty.
And does that include, Nicole, if your rack is just there empty without a box on it or storage or anything, does that also affect the aerodynamics like how you are describing?
For sure. And I know it's a pain to take some of them off and to put it back on again. But again, if you're serious about fuel saving, then that's what you need to do, unfortunately. If you're in a position where you can actually buy a new car, number 9 on my list is right size your ride. So the smaller the vehicle, the smaller the engine, the less energy. It's just physics, unfortunately. So if you're buying a new vehicle and it's going to be your commuter, it's not your family going away vehicle, buy something small engine, and you will save a lot of fuel by doing that. And then lastly, I've got on my list that obviously we've got plug-in hybrid technology and also electric vehicles. So I know people are saying, well, maybe it's a time to invest because of shortage of fuel, and even maybe the fact that diesel is going to cost a lot more than petrol. Maybe we should look at petrol vehicles, and all the hybrids are mostly petrol vehicles. I can just say that is probably a good way of thinking of it. Do the calculations as well. But if if you can buy a new vehicle, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, look at those options as well. Just an interesting fact, one of my friends asked me, well, should I quickly go out and buy an electric vehicle because the fuel will run out and we'll all be stuck and we can't go, and then if we've got an electric car, I can still go. I told him that if we run out of fuel in this country, your own personal mobility will be the least of your problems. I won't go out a rush and just buy an electric vehicle for just in case, because if the fuel stocks really run out, which we hope will never happen, then all the shops will close as well because there won't be any food. There will be no reason to drive anywhere. So as I say, don't panic. We've seen the toilet paper COVID-19 thing that happened. I think we all just need to be rational as well.
Yeah, because I think there was, when the petrol price was going up, there were a couple of garages that one would drive past and there's no fuel, number one, and number two, they were rationing and just limiting people to how much fuel they could get. Because if somebody comes with 10 jerry cans and they're like, fill me up, it can be problematic.
Yeah, I think it's human nature to do that, but unfortunately it messes the supply and demand chain completely. And I know it's been talked about a lot, but I think a lot of fuel stations that were running out of fuel, suddenly with a new fuel price, they all got fuel again. So that's also that, which is problematic. But I think if we all just keep our heads, I know that the fuel companies are doing their level best to secure the stocks for our country. But in the meantime, saving fuel is never a bad idea.
Yes, indeed. All right, thank you. Are we done with the list? Can we take one or two questions quickly?
Yes, that's correct.
All right, so we've got a voice note on 0727021702.
Good afternoon, Relebogile. How are you this afternoon? Yeah, just on the car feature, quick question. What makes the front tires of any sort of vehicle finished before the rear tires? They finish faster before the rear tires, but at the same time, these tires that are rotating on the same roads, they are applying brakes the same time, but the front tires of a vehicle, they run quicker than the rear tires. What makes that?
Oh, right. That's an interesting one, and I'm wondering if it has anything to do with whether it's a four-wheel drive or not.
You're halfway there, Relebogile. So it depends on where the drive is going. So you expect just a rolling wheel that's not driven to use less of the tire, less of the rubber than one that gets driven. So if it's a predominantly rear-wheel drive car, then you expect the rear tires to wear faster than the front tires. Most of our vehicles on the road are actually front-wheel drive, and it might be the case with this caller that is maybe driving a front-wheel drive car, and that will eat the front tires quicker than the rear tires that just along for the ride. So that's why it's very important to rotate tires, and you will probably be asked when you take your vehicle for servicing, your annual service, can we rotate the tires? And what they would do then is they will obviously swap the backs to the front. Sometimes they include a crisscross pattern with that to get even wear so that you can get the maximum mileage out of a set of 4 tires.
Kutsa says, does freewheeling help save fuel?
So that's always an interesting question. The modern vehicle, if you freewheel, but you freewheel in gear, like for instance going down a hill, but you don't go into neutral, you're not on the brakes, you're just actually running down in gear on the engine compression. The modern engine will not inject any fuel if you're in that situation. If you're in neutral, the engine still needs to idle down the hill, so you will still use a little bit of fuel while you then coast down, and you'll actually then use more fuel coasting in gear down the hill than on engine braking where there's no fuel going in. But there's a couple of other factors to play. How steep is the hill? Will you actually go above the speed limit, or actually getting to a flat area where you want to maximize your coast? So there's a few things there, but in general, the problem of coasting in neutral is that you can't react. If you suddenly need to accelerate, then you first need to hook a gear again and all of that, and it might not be worth a couple of cents that you're saving to put yourself at that risk.
Nicola, we're going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time on the car feature and our experience the new Citroen C3, a compact SUV-inspired hatch that brings wow to every drive with smart tech like a 10-inch touchscreen, impressive ground clearance, customized comfort, and standout style. The Citroen C3 is designed to wow you from the moment you start it up. Discover a drive that's big on personality and built for every day. Citroen C3, wow built in. Book a test drive or visit citroen.co.za to find out more.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa.
I cover everything on my show. We tell you what's happening in the world of entertainment, of sport, but principally, of course, news and current affairs. But we also pride ourselves on weaving a thread in terms of social issues. Our conversations aren't just about opinions and opinion shapers. They're also about our listeners, their lives, and their experiences. Our listeners are people who are thinking about the hard issues our world is facing, but they're also people who themselves are decision makers. So many CEOs or ministers get some of the information that they use to make their decisions based on what the show covers.
702 Breakfast with Bongani Bingwa. Weekdays from 6 to 9 a.m.
Mzansi, for as little as R7.50, you can play Powerball Plus for an estimated 60 million rand jackpot this Tuesday. Don't delay, play Powerball Plus for an estimated 60 million rand jackpot today, and you could be celebrating the millions. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, or cell phone banking. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Tuba's the proud operator of the National Lottery.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions. And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We're also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct. To give you balanced programming, fair comment, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we're not living up to the code, let us know on comment@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission, PO Box 412365, Craig Hall 2024. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
Thank you for joining us on 702 Afternoons. It's 1 minute after 3 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Sergeant Faninkosi remains behind bars waiting to apply for bail, and Emfuleni municipality denies neglecting its communities. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. Suspended police officer Faninkosi will remain behind bars for almost a week after his bid to have... I'm Bali Dlamini. Suspended police officer Faninkosi will remain behind bars for almost a week after his bid to have his bail application heard today failed in the Pretoria North Magistrates Court. Nkosi made his first appearance in court facing charges of theft, possession of ammunition and defeating the ends of justice. Nkosi, who testified for several days before the Madlanga Commission last month, was arrested last week during a raid at his home. Khomotso Modise has more.
The charges brought against Sergeant Faninkosi are in relation to the raid conducted at his home in Pretoria North last week. The theft charges are related to dockets and ammunition belonging to the state that was found in Nkosi's possession while he was on suspension and was required by law to hand in all state property. Today in court, Nkosi's lawyers tried to argue for his bail hearing to go ahead, informing